Good afternoon once again to everyone. And today we're going to start a class on education technology, and we are going to look at some of the things that we are likely to encounter in the course of the lecture. And I believe that many of us here are already using technology. So we need to be honest with ourselves that education has changed very, very fast. And between you and I, there are a lot of major changes that we may have noticed recently. So there are a lot of innovations, there are a lot of flexibilities that have come into education, and global changes have actually reshaped education. We need to really embrace and highlight the need for flexibility and innovation. So there's a paradigm shift right now that is taking place. There is a shift in the way things are done. There's a shift in the way we live. There's a shift in the way we learn. So virtually, technology has infused into so many things. And globally right now, emphasis is on adopting flexible and innovative approaches to education. Now we have new challenges, we have opportunities for education. This is like the evolution of learning. And in this evolution of learning, we have moved beyond classrooms. I don't know how many of you have taught online before. I don't know how many of you have learned online before. Hybrid learning is now what is called a new normal. And traditional classrooms are no longer enough. We have come to the dispensation where hybrid learning combines physical and online classes, and this improves engagement and access. Before we had traditional brick and mortar classrooms. So we have evolved from that. And right now, we have so many things that have come into place. Old methods are being eroded. We now have new methods. And what has emerged right now are hybrid modes with powerful solutions. So we need to engage our learners in the classroom and also remotely. Students themselves are no longer students. You can't call them students anymore. They are now learners because they learn by themselves. They learn at their own pace. There are a lot of resources online that they can have access to. So it's no longer what used to be. So they are learners right now. We cannot call them students. And even ourselves too. We used to be lecturers. We used to be teachers. But right now, we are better put as collaborators because we are collaborating with the learners. We are facilitators. Why? Because we are facilitating learning. So you can see there's a paradigm shift that's taking place. You can see this change that has actually occurred. So this is what is called digital shift or digital transformation. So that is the age where we are right now. We are in the age of digital shift. We are in the age of digital transformation, where technology is redefining teaching. Technology is redefining how we teach. So the way we do things has actually been taken over, has been redefined by technology. And in order for us to actually have a way ahead, we need to adapt. We need to embrace this change. The shift has moved away from classroom settings, and we now have hybrid. And if we are going to go further with this, we will need to adapt. So what happens to our students if we don't adapt? The key factors here are adaptation and innovation, and they are crucial in delivering what we now call the CC-MAS, which is the core curriculum minimum academic standard. We can look at some methods that have been used in time past. We have old methods of teaching, old teaching techniques. They learn by repetition and memorization. There is little or no scope for critical thinking, which means that when we thought we were teaching them, we're not actually teaching them critical thinking. And the mode of instruction then was tutor-centered. Think back. How were you taught? We don't have to have the fear for the use of technology. And this is the bane. This is the main thing. Previously, there were limited critical thinking. And technology is often avoided, but that is no longer the thing now because there has been integration of technology into teaching. So what are the roles of technology in teaching? Yeah, I must say at this juncture that we owe students relevant skills. We owe our learners relevant skills. And we can ask ourselves at this point, what digital skills is essential today? We must also reinforce the importance of technology in education. Now, you must also know that technology is essential for modern skill enhancement. We must prepare our learners for real-world demands. We must prepare them for the future, real-world demands. We have a duty to ensure they are familiar with the technology because that is so rapidly changing the world. The new thing in Nigeria's educational system now is what's called the CC Mass, like I said earlier. So we also need to improve our function because if we have to teach our learners with the CC Mass curriculum, then we need to improve our function and give our learners the skill that they need to function effectively in the world. Let's look at some approaches in using technology. Learning takes place both in school and out of school. And learning is taking place right now anywhere. It's taking place at any time. So we need to be able to connect learning with the learners. And as we have said, learning can happen anytime. We use mobile devices, we use tools, so we encourage continuous learning with our learners. We must ensure that we make learning to become more mobile. Learners have mobile phones, they have data, they have handheld computers, they have iPads, they have a lot of things now that they can use for their learning. Now, this brings us to the concept of synchronous and asynchronous learning. Synchronous is real-time online. It's a type of learning that you have to be online at that time. It has to be real-time. And asynchronous is offline. You're not online, but whatever it's been done, you can actually have access to them and, of course, read them. For instance, the learning platform that is widely used in many universities right now is the Learning Management System, the LMS. And so when you drop activities on the Learning Management System, you drop activity like you uploaded a file, you uploaded a video, you uploaded, learners can actually get to them and read it at their own time, at their own pace, and have access at their own time, at their own pace. That is asynchronous because it's offline. So synchronous is when you schedule live online lectures, webinars, like what we're doing right now. We're having a class over Zoom. This is synchronous learning. You're having a class over Teams, Microsoft Teams. You're having a class over Google Meet. These are synchronous learning. Now, when you create pre-recorded lectures, when something is pre-recorded, like this class, I could have pre-recorded it. And when I now push it to you, it's asynchronous because we are not online, it's not real time. Anytime students can access materials, whether it's a TMA, tutor marked assignment, a quiz, which is computer marked assessment, or a discussion forum, all these are asynchronous type of learning. And learners can access these materials anytime, anywhere. There are methods that have actually been used to teach since we are moving from the old ways into the new ways. So these are the new teaching methods. Now, we have collaborative learning, we have ICT in teaching and learning, we have space learning, we have flipped classrooms, self-learning, gamification, we have crossover learning, there are brief individual and group presentation, there's PowerPoint presentation, and lots more. ICT integration is the inculcating of communication technology into teaching and learning. Learning has now become collaborative. And like I said earlier, the teacher is better placed as a collaborator and a facilitator. And likewise, we have spaced learning. And spaced learning is a study method where you spread your learning sessions over time instead of cramming everything at once. So in practice, it means you will study a particular topic, you will take a break, you then come back to it later, repeatedly. That is what's called spaced learning. For instance, day 1, you can study a topic for 30 minutes. Day 2, you will review it for 10 to 15 minutes. Day 5, you can review the topic again. And then in day 10, you can do a quick revision. So, and this really works well. And why does this work? Because your brain forgets over time. And then the brain now strengthens your memory when you revisit the material. So each review makes the information stick longer. It also improves long-term retention, not just short-term recall. And there are key benefits to spaced learning because you have better memory retention. There is less stress compared to cramming. And then you also have more efficient studying. And it helps you to recall information faster during examination. So this is the good thing about spaced learning. The next one is flipped classroom. If I do a recorded video right now and I send it to the class rep to send to your group, that is flipped classroom. So it's a teaching method where you learn the lesson before the class. So when you see the video and you go through the video and you learn what is in the video before the class, that is flipped classroom. What we will now use the class time for will be practice, will be discussion, will be problem solving. That is what's called flipped classroom. You can watch the video at home, you can read the notes, you can study the materials. And when we get back to class, we ask questions, we solve problems, we do group work. Now, self-learning is when you take responsibility for your own learning. Because we say that you learn at your own pace, at your own time. So self-learning is when you take responsibility for your own learning without depending fully on a teacher or facilitator, or without depending fully on a formal classroom. So what this means in practice is that you will decide what to learn, you will decide how to learn, you will decide when to study, and you will decide how to check your progress. And in gamification, this is when you use game elements in non-game activities. So it is the use of game elements in a non-game activities like lectures to make them more engaging and motivating. So what this now means is that you will turn the task into something that feels like a game by adding points, by adding levels, by adding badges, by adding rewards, and also by challenges. So you earn points for completing the particular question, you get a badge for finishing the module, you move to a higher level as you improve. So this is gamification, and there are apps that you can actually use to do that. Duolingo is one because it keeps users learning daily. Kahoot is also another one. So it will make ordinary tasks feel fun and very, very competitive. And then we have crossover learning. Now, crossover learning is a learning approach where you combine formal learning, which is like in a school or classroom, with informal learning. Informal learning, example of that is real life experiences. So you learn something in class, then apply or explore it outside of the classroom. That is what's called crossover learning. A simple example is like you learn about marketing strategies, for instance. Then outside the class, you analyze how brands promote products on Instagram, how brands promote products in your local market. That is a typical example. So learning does not stop in the classroom. It continues in real life. For brief individual and group presentation is what I've actually explained earlier. In group presentation, there's a way that in which you ensure that everyone in that group is actually contributory, because if you don't do that, you just discover that it is, for instance, it can be only Shehu Barbara that actually put everything together from introduction to materials and method to results to conclusion, and you come and present, and there may be like 5 people in that group. So if care is not taken, you just discover that 4 of them have not done anything, they're not contributory, they have not had any input into what he has come to prepare. Only one person has worked. So in that kind of situation, what you need to say is, okay, if you are 4, then divide it. While Shehu Mabara comes to talk about introduction, the next person comes to talk about the materials and method that was used, and the next person comes to talk about the results, and then the last person talks about discussion. In that wise, you will ensure that everybody will. They will be so attentive. They will be up and doing to make sure that they actually contributory to the group presentation. And of course, in PowerPoint, we put our ideas, we put our thoughts into slide decks, and we come to present the slide. What are challenges to technology used by lecturers? Of course, that there are there are challenges. Lack of computer is one. People also clamor for this. They want internet connectivity. What actually is your biggest challenge? So we're going to answer that questions maybe after this, after I just run through this. Other people say lack of time. Others say technical difficulties. They don't know how to go about it. Majority of people don't even know how to use Word. Majority of people don't even know how to go on internet. Poor funding is another one. We have resistance to change. Poor administrative support. Low levels of computer literacy. Then, of course, technology misalignment with the curriculum is another one. And then lack of incentives is another challenge to technology used by lecturers. Many people don't have a good training opportunities. There are limited practical experiences. There are courses requiring hands-on experience. There are courses requiring labs, requiring workshops. And this can be challenging to replicate authentically in a virtual environment. Technological challenge is also there. Not every student has equal access to technology. Not everyone has reliable internet connections. And this disparity can create an uneven learning field where some students might face regular disruptions. Another problem is assessment limitation, because online assessment can sometimes be restrictive in their format. And there are concerns about academic integrity when it comes to online assessment. Of course, there have been exams that have been proctored. People write exams from their home, and it's actually being proctored. A lot of cheating takes place, But really, online assessment can be restrictive. Academic integrity is the major problem at that. But when you look at traditional assessment, on the other hand, they are often seen as a more secure and diverse. But we have to move on, because this is the era of digital disruptions and era of technology coming into being integrated into learning. We are moving from passive to active learning. You can see there is a big difference between old teaching method and new teaching method. While in the old teaching method, you have conventional speed, you have twist speed in new teaching. Old teaching is monotasking, while new teaching is multitasking. Linear approaches in old teaching, you have non-linear approaches in new teaching. You have standalone in old teaching, you have connected. You are connected in new teaching. Competitive is in old, and of course you have collaborative is involved in new teaching. The old teaching is passive, while new teaching is active. Old teaching separates learning and playing. But in new teaching, you learn by playing. No teaching, you have technology is they see technology as an enemy, but in the new teaching, technology is seen as a friend. I have come to the end of the class. So thank you very much. I don't know if you have any question.